Hello everyone, I am Saru, and first of all, before I start off with the topic for today, I would like to thank you for your messages that I receive every day, and also I would like to um, personally thank you for all the um, per- uh, personal messages in particular, because when you send personal messages it means you are expecting information regarding a topic that you might not want to discuss outside that comfort zone. I'm absolutely all right with that, because the questions that you ask sometimes it's been mentioned that they might not be the right questions. Actually, when anybody is in a situation where we are stuck and we cannot get out of it, it's always good to ask even the silliest question possible to whoever you can. So asking questions or sending in feedback is always accepted, and for that reason I come and join you every day. Your questions or your inquiries or your feedback is one thing that inspires me to come and join you and have a conversation with you regarding the topics that you are most interested in knowing. I have been since last few days, which I was not able to touch upon, is one topic that everybody has been asking me about, is what do you expect during the hearing of a child custody case? See, whatever information I provide, it might not apply to your particular case, but any information that I provide here is in general that I do usually do. So when in generic, every case is individual. Every person's hearing or proceeding of a court case could be individual, but and very different to the other one. But there are few general things that we could or we should be touching upon, that or should be considering, that might not hurt our case. So the first and the foremost thing is, if somebody has received a legal documentation or a set of documentation from your partner's lawyers or a legal firm, the first and the foremost thing is, do not please ignore it. Read it properly, respond to it, because they are legal documents and we are obliged to respond to it in whatever number of days which are mentioned on it. Some documents have 14 days mentioned on it, some have 21, and a few documents might give you enough time of 28 days to respond to that particular document. Usually what happens, I've come across cases where people just absolutely ignore these legal docs and end up in a soup in a way that they have no option left, and there is a default judgment that is being given in the favor of the plaintiff or in favor of a person who's filed a case. What is a default judgment? Default judgment is when you are passed on legal documents and you do not respond to it, or anybody who doesn't respond to it and do not attend a court hearing. So in that person's absence, the magistrate or the court orders or comes up with a default judgment in favor of a person who has filed that case. So the most important thing is to respond to those legal documents. Second, do attend a court hearing. It is vital for you to attend a court hearing so that you know what's happening, particularly in your own case, and what the proceeding is all about, and what the basis of the argument can be or should be. So do attend the court hearing. Please make sure that there is no default judgment being passed. It will only be passed in your absence. So responding to legal documents, attending the court hearing to avoid that default judgment. Now, when there's default judgment, there's also one more thing that can be considered by the court itself, which is the contempt of court. There are legal documents sent to a particular party or an individual. That person does not respond. There's a time given to that person, and there has been no response from that particular person during or within that time period. Then that can be considered considering the seriousness of the high risk of that case, it could be considered as the contempt of court. The contempt of court could lead to financial or fines, in terms of you might have to pay some fine, and or it could be imprisonment, again considering the risk involved in that case. And also, if it's a case regarding child custody, there's a possibility, and it's most likely has happened in a few cases, that the time a parent gets, so during the child custody time, the time period is divided between two parents so that the child can get the love and the care of both parents. It is most likely, if you do not attend that court hearing, that your time could be deducted and given to the other parent, or you might just absolutely lose the custody of your child. So there are a few things that we need to remember, especially or expect during the court hearing. Now, in terms of attending the court, when a court hearing is attended, it is an open court. Usually it's an open court, where if it's a civil matter, it's an open court. You are expected to attend it once there's a plaintiff and there's a respondent. So the plaintiff is a person who has filed a case, and respondent or the defendant is a person who is supposed to respond to that particular case or that matter. So usually what happens when somebody attends a court hearing, the opening statement is the right of the plaintiff. Plaintiff is again a person who has filed a case. So the opening statement is the right of the plaintiff, which the court decides. There are very few cases where the defendant is given an opportunity to make an opening statement. When this opening statement is made, it is basically about what the case is regarding, or what the matter is all about. Once the opening statement is made, make sure, if you are a defendant or even if you are a plaintiff, probably in both cases, it's good to have a lawyer, it's good to have a legal representation. In case you are a plaintiff or even you are a defendant, one thing that needs to keep in mind is that these cases have a limited time. So there is limited time given to such cases. So your witnesses or your evidence should be relevant. Prepare your witnesses or your evidences beforehand that you think are relevant to that particular case. We cannot go back and forth and argue on the same topic every time there's a court hearing. Again, due to the limitation of the time period, that there has to be a final statement made by the court. Make sure that you have relevant evidences or witnesses when you attend such cases. And because when there are children, and especially minor children involved, these are considered as sensitive cases, and henceforth the court the courts are more interested in having the verdict or the final sentence being given as soon as possible, so that the child doesn't suffer in any way, especially mental well-being, so that the child gets the love and the care of both parents. When you are in the court and you are sure that you have relevant evidences, you have relevant witnesses with you, make sure you discuss around the area of dispute. Whatever the dispute had been between two partners, make sure that the discussion is around that area of dispute, because the court, again, they have limited time, and the court is not there to listen to the stories or his words against her words. The court is not ready to listen to that. Everything has to be very precise and clear in front of the court. There could be a cross-examination. In some cases, when I say cross-examination, that means it also depends on the judge or the attorney, as in, will the attorney or the court would give the permission of just yes or no answers. There might be sometimes questions asked where the plaintiff or the defendant is expected to just give yes or no answers. Please stick to that. you need to be conscious there at that time, as in what is expected from yourself. Also, there could be opportunities where you are given a chance to respond to those questions with a bit longer answers. So be prepared with that, and be go there with an open mind that, and it could be either way. You might just get an opportunity to just say yes or no, or you might be given an opportunity or a chance to answer those questions which have been asked to you in a more precise or more, let's say, rather than just brief, but in an longer, or it could be longer answers that could be expected from you. Now, make sure you present your case in a professional manner. When I say present your case, most of the time such cases are those cases where we are not aware of what is expected from us, or what our expectations should be from the court. So in such cases, make sure you present your case, and if possible, I would kind of emphasize on this, that if possible, make sure you have proper legal representation. Legal representation is very important, because usually what happens when if we don't have legal representation, we are not sure what is coming our way, and we might just go in different directions, and we might not be focusing on what is actually being assumed or presumed or expected from us. The legal representation in some cases for some individuals might be hard to get. There are free legal aid services all around Australia, so please make sure that you do contact those legal services or support services beforehand to know what is coming your way. There are few mistakes or few things that we do not think about, especially in the child custody case, and that might hurt your case. Make sure you keep all the records, as in all the receipts of everything which is involved in that particular case, especially if you are spending something on your child, or your child has been with you for a little while, or whatever time period you get. It could be 15% of the week, or it could be 20, or it could be 50-50 with both parents. So make sure that you keep all the records and all the receipts of that particular case, even also the expenditure that you have done during that time when you have your child with you. With the child custody, if you are paying a certain amount to a parent, please pay that through a check or a bank transfer. Sometimes a few people that have come to me, and they have mentioned that they have paid a particular payment which has been decided by the court in cash. When you give the money in cash, your terms with your partner in the past might have been absolutely brilliant or absolutely amazing, but considering that your situation or your terms at the moment with the partner while you're fighting a case for your child's custody are probably not that good. So you never know what direction your partner might be thinking, or in future you might not know what direction you might be taking. So it's always good to pay by check or by bank transfer, so that you have a record of all those transactions made or the expenditures done during these times. Or now, there's one more thing that comes to my mind, that we are human beings, and especially when we are fighting a court case and when there are legal authorities involved, we do tend to lose our temper, especially during the court hearings, when we hear a few things which actually haven't happened but are added to the case. Make sure that you do not lose your temper. Please do not be aggressive during the court hearings. It will not go in your favor. Also, I totally understand it could be really hard to keep calm. It could be really hard to have that patience, but for your own self and for your child's benefit, please do not lose your temper, especially during the court hearings. Now, there's one more thing that is very important to keep in mind, especially while attending a court hearing, that you answer the questions that are being asked to you, not tell stories. There's a thin line between jumping the borders and jumping that line where we tend to start telling stories. There's a question asked by either the plaintiff's lawyer or by the court. Please just stick to answering that question. If we start telling stories, sometimes we start giving points that might be used against us in future, and we might lose our child's custody. So just stick to those questions which have been asked to you. Just answer those questions and do not tell stories, or do not go in circles rather than answering those questions. There's another thing which is equally important during child custody. It's called mediation. If somebody is going through a case where a child's custody is involved, you might have heard the term mediation. Mediation is very important for both partners. Please do not avoid having a mediation. If possible, have a legal representation there as well. If you think going into a mediation that there might be a person sitting there who will not be biased to any of you, that notion needs to be left outside the door. Definitely there'll be a person who's not biased to you, but there'll also be a person who will not be in your favor, that is your own partner. So you have to have that legal representation or an understanding of what mediation is all about and what it involves. There have been a few questions. I'm just thinking about it. What other questions were there that were asked around child custody that I might not have touched at the moment? As far as I remember, I think I've touched upon pretty much everything. There is one thing that I would like to add from my own side, my own end, is please, in front of your child or your children, please be nice to your partner. Totally understand that things have not been in your favor, or things have not been in the favor of that relationship that you had been. Henceforth, you guys have ended up into maybe seeking divorce, or separating, or getting into that battle of child custody. Of course, there had been things that hadn't worked well in that relationship. Regardless of that, please, for both parents, please be nice to each other, especially in presence of your child or your children, because this is that attitude at that moment when you going through hard time and when your partner is going through hard time as well. It is these kids that observe our behavior, and it is a learned behavior at that time that will affect children. So whatever you say, or whatever your partner say, or however you or your partner behave, will absolutely and definitely affect your child's growth and well-being. And also in future, we don't want our children to turn around and say that you have been nasty to mom, or you have been nasty to dad. So to avoid that, please make sure that we are kind to each other and we are respectful of each other, regardless what the circumstances are, regardless if the relationship is not working, but especially in front of your children, please be kind to each other. I hope I have answered all the questions, and I hope I have touched upon pretty much everything that was asked to me. If still there is anything that you would like to know or inquire about, as per my understanding, again, there are a lot of things that imply or apply to most of the cases, because whatever information I'm providing is on general basis, that is involved in pretty much all the cases that involve child custody. This is not a legal advice. For legal advice, you have to consult a lawyer. You need to seek advice from legal aid, which is free most of the time. And also, if you can hire a lawyer, and have a legal representation. That's better. You'll get more answers, especially in particular to your case. Again, all the cases are individual cases. Every scenario is different. So what information I give you, or all the information that I give you, is probably based on the generic information from my end. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Hopefully I have answered all the questions and I've touched upon all the points, which are the basics, or the basic information regarding child custody. If by any chance I have not touched upon anything that you asked, please do not hesitate to get in touch. Please do not hesitate to message me. It is your messages that encouraged me to come and talk to you, and it is all of these messages that boost my confidence to to have these conversations with you. In particular, I totally understand this matters that we pick on or we touch upon are very sensitive matters, but always having a bit of information from a source is good for us to start off with the process, especially which involves all the legalities in our state or in our nation. If there are any questions, again, I would request you to send those questions to me. If there is any topic that you would like me to touch upon, I will definitely come and share all your concerns and try answering all your inquiries, because Saru speaks and Saru will speak and challenge all those behaviors that encourage or breed social stigmas. For tomorrow, I will come and talk to you about something different. Till then, have a lovely evening. If it's evening at your end, otherwise it's in Australia, it's night. Good night. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.